students. So today's lesson is called Dear Mom, right? So we're going to talk about writing emails today, writing emails. Okay, so what we're going to read is Gabriella's email to her family. So let's look at this real quick. So what we have is we have a email address that says from, an email address that says to, right? And then we have a subject, right? So this is kind of like when you mail something, right? We have a from and a to. In the from, it's what your email is, right? Or I could say what my email is, right? It's Gabby's email, right? Gabriella's email. And then to is who you want it to go to, who you want to send it to. And then we have the subject line, right? Hi, mom, which we use the subject because that's the thing that pops up in the email before you can read the whole thing. So people know, okay, what is this email about? What is it for? Is it important, right? And so here's what the email says. Let's read it together. Okay, so it says, Dear Mom, I am writing this email from my favorite restaurant. Maybe we can meet here next week. Is it around, or not is it? It is around the corner from my apartment. It's next door to the supermarket. How about Monday? Can we meet for lunch? Please let me know. Love, Gabby. Okay, so this is the email, right? So we can ask people to do things. We can email questions to people, to contact people. So Gabriella is sending this email to ask her mom to lunch, to say, do you want to come to lunch at my favorite restaurant with me, right? So let's answer the questions about the email. So let's answer this first one. What is Gabriella's email address? So like I said, in this from section, right? This is Gabriella's email address, right? gabbygg@lansbury.net, right? So that's her email address, right? From. And then the next question, what is her mother's email address? So let's look. What is her mother's email address? So you want to look at the to, right? To mflores@myhome.com, right? That's the email address. Next one, where is the supermarket? So we have to read the email again to figure out where that is. So she's talking about her favorite restaurant. Maybe we can meet here next week. It is around the corner from my apartment. It's next door to the supermarket. So when it says, well, where is the supermarket? We can say that the supermarket is next door, right? Next to Gabby's favorite restaurant, right? Now, the other thing it asks is, when did she write the email? So let's look at this email, and I want you to try and look at it and see if you can figure out when she wrote the email. So right here, it says date, and the date is February 24th, right? It will give the date of the email, right? And it says, who is the email to? That one we've been talking about. It's to her mom, Gabriella's mom. And where is Gabriella writing the email from? So not who the email is from, but where is she when she's writing it? And in the beginning, it said, I am writing this email from my favorite restaurant, from my favorite restaurant, which means she was in the restaurant. So that's where she's writing the email from. Ooh, sorry. Okay, so she's in the restaurant writing the email, right? Okay, so now we're going to keep going over this. So it says, look at the chart with your classmates and your teacher. So we're going to talk about continuous, right? Present continuous, ing. You have the subject, I, he, she, it, you, we, they, right? And you can say the form of be. I am, he is, she is, it is, you are, we are, they are, right? So I am, we can say I am or I'm. He is, he's, she is, she's, it is, it's. You are, your, we are, we're, and they are there, right? So that's all right here. The next thing is we use, right, the simple present verb write, and we add an ing, writing, eat-ing, read-ing, right? And then that's how we use the ing verb. And you can use time at the end of it, right? I am walking right now, or you could say today, or I am eating lunch today. I am eating lunch at a restaurant today, right? So some examples are, I'm writing a letter right now. She's eating a sandwich. They're reading a book today, right? So we can use those to make sentences. And it says complete the sentences with present continuous form of the verb in parentheses. So this, right, we have write, drop the E, use write, writing, right? So let's write this together. So they, and the verb it wants us to use is write. So what we're going to write is writing. So W, okay, this is not going to look super good. Maybe I'll switch to text. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to switch to the text one. I-N-G. Okay, we're going to stop doing that one. Okay, so now what we're going to do is right here, we are we have to add the to be verb. So it's not they writing, it's they are writing. We are reading, right? We are reading the email, right? We are reading a email, reading the email, right? The next one is I go to the hospital, right? So if we want to make it continuous, we say I am going to the hospital. I am very sick. The next one is Gabriella, right? And we use is. Gabriella is buying a book at the store right now, right? That's what we have at the end. She's buying a book at the store right now. So let me exit out of this. Okay, so if she's buying a book at the store right now, that's why we use ing. It's to talk about a verb. If you'll remember, it's to talk about something that's happening continuously, right? Okay. So simple present, right? I always write emails. I often eat lunch. I sometimes read the newspaper, right? So we use the adverb with the verb to also talk about actions we do and when we do them, right? So I always, I often, I sometimes, I rarely, I never, right? And you can use it with he, she, it, you, we, they. You never call me, right? That's what your mom can say. You never call me, right? She sometimes writes emails, right? Here are some examples. I always write emails. He rarely eats here. They never read the newspaper, right? So something you should remember with this, if you're not quite sure how to use them, just follow this structure, right? We talk about the subject first. In between our subject, right? And our subject doesn't have to be I, he, she, it, you, we, they. It could be, you can use names, right? My boss always calls late. My teacher always texts late, right? She calls me late, right? So adverbs of frequency, right? How often you do them. So this is kind of to show you when and how to use them, right? When somebody says you never, I never, they never, it means zero, never happens, meaning zero, right? 0 times it happens, right? Rarely is in between, happens half of the time and not half of the time. Sometimes is 50-50, right? Sometimes it happens 50-50, 50 times or 50% of the time it happens. Usually is it's common. It happens kind of a lot. And if somebody says always, it's every time, right? So for example, I am always cold in the winter. Every winter I feel cold, right? It's an always thing. But you could say sometimes, or I'll say this, 100% of the time, I always feel cold outside in the winter. Sometimes, or I'll say rarely, I am cold inside in the winter. Rarely. I am rarely cold, right? I am rarely cold inside the house, right? So that's what we can use, but you can also use them for things like actions like writing, eating, reading, right? She lives in Lansbury, right? To complete the sentence, right? We have live. I never read classified ads. We rarely study on Saturday. They often write emails or texts at lunchtime. You go to school at the Orangewood School for Adults, right? So remember that when you use a simple present verb and you use he, she, it, you need to put an S at the end, right? He lives, but if you say I, you say I live, right? I live. Okay, and last one. This one is listen and answer. Where do you go to school? You go to school, well, you do online school, right? So you could say, I go to AAU, right? Or the Refugee and Immigrant Center, because that's who I work for. That's my boss, right? Even though we don't go to school, we do distance learning. Where do you live, right? So you would write, I live in Rose Park. I live in Taylorsville. I live in Salt Lake, right? Where is a restaurant nearby? You could say, oh, a restaurant is down the street. A restaurant is around the corner, right? What do you sometimes do? Now, this one's up to you. I sometimes, right, 50% of the time, sometimes I hike. Sometimes I go hiking, right? Okay, now this one is kind of hard because we're not in school to ask partner questions and then write their answers. So this is just to practice using he or she. Where do you go to school? So for this part, what you're going to do is read these questions. We're going to read them together and I'm going to give you my answer. And so what you would need to write is, he, she, they, depending on the pronoun, and then talk about where they go to school, right? So where do you go to school? And I say, I go to, or I could say, I do not go to school, right? You'd say, she does not go to school. Where do you live? You have to say, I live in North Salt Lake, right? You would type out or write out, she lives in North Salt Lake, right? Where is a restaurant nearby? And if I say, there is a restaurant down the street. What do you sometimes do? I sometimes go hiking. So you'd say she sometimes goes hiking, right? Okay, now next one, write a text for an email to family member about your city. Use the information about yourself or your partner from this page. So this is to kind of like practice writing an email, to write who's it from, who's it to, and what's the subject, and then what's in the letter. And then the other thing that you can try and do is write a real email to friends or family, and make an email account. So if you have an email account, good. If you do not, it's really easy to set one up if you need one. And try and send an email to somebody. Try and send an email to a friend. Ask see if your child, right, has an email, your brother, your sister, your mom. Yeah, you can try emailing them. So that'll be it for today on emails, and I will see you next time. Bye.